Today, we have a couple of audio products from NearStream. Now, NearStream also makes streaming cameras, and I have reviewed them on my channel before, and I found them to be good quality products. And they reached out again, asking if I wanted to look at any of their other things, and I thought their audio stuff may be interesting as well. So let's get these ones out of the box and see if these have some mainstream appeal, or is this something that's going to be more interesting to a particular, maybe niche audience? I have my suspicions. All right, so the first one we're going to get out of the box is the NearStream audio mixer. NearStream advertises this as a small, perhaps portable audio mixing solution. You can see on the top side, it talks about having individual audio controls, so you control individual audio channels, their volume, assumably. We have sound effects built in, and dual XLR microphone instrument inputs. So XLR is kind of the professional standard that the audio industry has used for professional level microphones for a long time. So if you need to add XLR inputs, this is supposedly a small and compact way to do it. You have mute and monitoring support, and AI noise canceling. Everything's AI now, apparently. We'll see. All right, so we got a warranty card, we got a basic quick start guide, and a little more involved user manual. It's nice to see an actual paper user manual. Those are not as in vogue anymore. All right, next up is actually the unit itself. It's very light. Which doesn't mean anything. It just, but it obviously means that it's in a plastic case, which again, I suppose for portability makes sense. It's got a decent sized screen on it, a huge knob. Look at that knob, that is massive. And then here you got all your various ports. We'll take a look at those in a minute. And then whatever else is in the box is probably, yeah, a couple of cables it looks like. So we got a 3.5 millimeter headphone cable, another kind of one that you usually use these when you're mounting a microphone, say to a camera or something. So that's interesting to see. And then your ubiquitous USB-C power cable. Oh, and then finally a 3.5 millimeter to 1/4 inch stereo, it looks like, adapter for adapting all of your adapting needs. All right, so pardon the interruption. I just want to give you a little clue as to how channels like this work, especially those of us who work in more niche content. The YouTube ad revenue is literally pennies and not how I primarily support this channel. I do it through Amazon affiliate links. Now here's the thing, when you click on one of the Amazon affiliate links below in the description, even if you don't buy the exact product that I am linking to, if you buy something in that experience and you start by clicking on one of my links, then I get a little cut of it. It doesn't cost you anything. That's Amazon paying it out of Amazon's share. The only other way to make this work is to do things like sponsored or advertised content, which I don't want to do because I want to offer objective information and advice to you. So please check the links below if you're interested in anything you've seen here today. And even if you come back later, use those links, buy your products, enjoy what you buy, help me out. Thank you. All right, we got it plugged in here. It does have a very nice long USB-C power cable, which is nice to see. That is a good thing. The user manual itself, though, is actually a bit of a bust. There's more information in the quick start guide than there is in the user manual, so oh well on that one. This is clearly designed to sit on your desktop. It does not have a battery built into it, so you will need to power it somehow, some way, either connected to mains power through an adapter or bring your own battery or however it is you want to do it. On this clear front panel here is your main inputs and outputs. So you've got two instrument or mic inputs. Now these are combo inputs that take either an XLR, which is the 3-pin standard, or 1/4 inch in. You can individually turn on phantom power for each one. So if you're using a condenser style microphone that requires phantom power, you can have phantom power to one or both or either. There's an instrument setting if you're going to say plug your vocal mic into one and your guitar or something else into the other. That is possible as well. And then you've got this auxiliary input that's labeled music, and in the documentation they talk about this as background music. And there's actually 3 different ways to get background music into this thing. One of them is right here. So if you've got a CD player, I guess, I don't know, that has a 3.5mm, you've got that. And then you have opportunity for 2 different headphone monitors. And again, this is the 1/4 inch standard, which most professional headphones have. So say you're doing a 2-person interview style show and you've got a couple of nice podcast mics hooked up into here, then you can have 2 professional quality monitoring mic headphones plugged into here and kind of have a all-in-one solution, which is nice. This is the button that controls, or the dial that controls what you're hearing in the monitors and the microphone or in the headphone monitors. Hardware or software? I assume hardware is what's actually coming into the device, the mix you're actually mixing on the device at the time. So your 2, XLR or 1/4 inch inputs here in your background music, I assume is what the hardware side is, and the software is what's coming from the computer, I guess. I don't know, couldn't find any documentation on it, so we'll have to find out. But having 2 monitoring headphone outputs is really nice to have. Now, there's nothing on this side, and then around back, we have the output. So this is obviously a mixer. It does not have the ability to record the audio itself. You're gonna have to send the audio somewhere to be recorded. So you've got 1/4 inch line output left and right that I assume corresponds to the 1 and 2 on this side. So if you do have additional 1/4 inch output you want to send this off to, so an additional device downstream or whatever that might be, I don't imagine those are going to get used too much. You've got a 3.5mm, and that one's labeled with like a little speaker. So if you had monitor speakers going, or something that you wanted to record with that took that as the output type, so like a Tascam or something like that, you've got that. And then the one most people will probably be using is the USB. Unless they're using the Bluetooth, which we'll talk about in a second. But the USB here, there are 2 USB ins. One is just for the power input right here, and then this one is to plug into your computer, so that your computer will see this as an audio device, both an input device and an output device. So we'll definitely need to do some testing along that as well. All right, so your main interface for actually controlling the thing is right here, and as you can see, again, huge knob for controlling things, which is nice. And the screen is really, really dim. And in fact, I'm looking at the camera right now and I'm like, that is really hard to see. Hold on, I'm going to need to adjust some lights so you can even see this on the video. All right, I had to turn off several of my lights and change some settings on my camera, but now you can at least see what's going on, which is nice. So along the top is more of like a status bar, and if I turn, if I click some buttons to turn instrument mode on and off, or phantom power on and off, you can see those are reflected there across that top bar. All right, so on the side here, I select which input I want to control, and then if I keep pressing, it will cycle through the various options for that input. So initially I hit input 1, so that one turned blue to let me know that's what I'm controlling, and then the big knob will control that. So I can control gain on each of my channels, basically how sensitive it's going to be. I can do a little EQ on each of them. It doesn't have like the full EQ suite or anything like that. It's not that sophisticated, but you can go through some basic EQ settings if you would like, and then your denoise or your AI noise canceling settings 1, 2, and 3. This is where being able to live monitor what's going on with these front headphone ports is going to be really important, because I have a feeling which of those settings you're going to want, if you want any of them, is going to vary by room and circumstance, so you're going to want to do that. So instrument 1, or input 1 and input 2, which are these two right here, get their own dedicated buttons. And then for BGM, background music, you click that, and again you have the gain, so you can turn your background music up and down. So say you had like a title sequence, or you just had some intro music that you wanted to play, you could play that and then manually lower it or up, or put it up in the mix right here based on this, which is kind of a neat feature. It will also let you independently or control the different ways of getting the background music into the thing, because there are multiple ways to do that. So right now we're on auxiliary, which is this 3.5 millimeter in the front. We are on USB, which is going to be the USB input here on the back. And then we're on Bluetooth. So you can Bluetooth connect this to your phone, or your laptop or whatever as well, which is a nifty feature and definitely adds to the utility of it, especially for like a portable audio recruiting system if you want to. And then finally the output, and again, controlling the gain, how loud or soft do you want the output to be, and then independently on the different headphones. So you can have headphone 1 adjustment and headphone 2 adjustment. So if you've got somebody, say again, you're doing like an interview style show and that person isn't as used to hearing themselves and hearing their own voice, you want to turn down theirs, you can. Just know that it's for these last two, you can keep pressing to cycle through the different options. They don't have dedicated selectors like input 1 and input 2. That's clearly where you want you to be. There is a loop back on and off for the USB audio, which most people aren't going to use or touch really. It just can come in handy sometimes if you're using some fairly sophisticated options through your USB, which most of you probably aren't going to do. There is the ability to turn the Bluetooth on and off, press and hold to put it in discovery mode so you can connect to it. All right, and then we have the FX button. If you have background music selected and you press the FX button, you'll see it says right underneath there in very, very tiny font for people with better eyes than I do, Ducker has popped up. And what that's gonna do is that's actually gonna duck or lessen the background music when there are vocals, or I assume when it's getting input on input 1 or input 2. So again, this is for background music. So if you're not talking, it will have the background music higher, and once you start talking, it's actually going to lower the background as well, which is nice. And then finally you have a home button that sends everything back to home. There is a power button right there as well to turn the unit on or off, and that's about it. I would say, features wise, it's fairly complete. If you have especially if you're limited to just a couple of channels of input, again, 2 people on a microphone and then a little extra bonus in there for background music or whatever you might want to use. It's quite portable, it's quite light, it looks pretty good to me as far as what it is that it does. All right, so I do have it connected up to my computer, and I'm happy to report it will take power from the USB-C from the computer. So if you're going to use it hooked up to a computer, you only have to have the one USB-C plugged in, which is nice. And Windows picked it up as both a speaker and a microphone, so it's both input and output as far as the computer is concerned for audio, which is nice, and I can confirm it showed up the same way on my Mac. And when I go to Audacity, which is a tool for multi-track recording, meaning that if you've got a device that can report or can send out multiple tracks of audio, like a digital soundboard or something like that, it will independently record those multiple tracks and is usually pretty good about detecting hardware. And it saw this device as well and saw it as a stereo input, meaning 2 tracks. Input 1 and input 2 on the left and the right channel. I was sort of hoping that maybe there would be a third track for the background audio or something like that. That's obviously not the case and not how this is going to work. Instead, the background audio from either the source, the input in the front or the back or the Bluetooth or however you're going to do it, is going to get embedded into that left-right feed. So you're left with 2-track recording off of this device, which is not necessarily a deal breaker for it, but I would have loved to see the opportunity to have multiple of or have all of the different audio inputs broken out into individual tracks on the recording end, since this doesn't record itself. But alas, that's not how it works. But I suppose for a device this size and at this price point, that's kind of to be expected. All right, so let's talk price point. You can get the NearStream audio mixer on Amazon for about $150. They also sell a less feature-full version, doesn't have a screen on it, anything like that, for under $100. And it's the price point that actually makes it interesting. Now, I did hook some microphones up to it, and it works as you would expect. Frankly, I am not an audiophile or an audio engineer, but to me, having done a lot of YouTube and podcasting and everything, the quality out of it was great, and as good as most anything else on the market. Didn't see any problems there, so I'm not going to bore you with that. I think what this really is a value play for people who want a simple or perhaps portable podcasting or other kind of audio recording solution. You can pair this with any decent camera and record interviews or other kinds of content pretty much anywhere you might be. The fact that you can have that background music option is interesting. I don't know how much that's going to get used. I would almost always just add that stuff in post, but others might find it helpful for that. But for a simple, portable, easy to use audio interface that's going to do everything you need and a few things you probably don't need it to do, it actually works pretty darn well. And again, it's at that price point of $150, or currently on their website they're running a special for a few dollars off. If you take it somewhere, if you lose it, if you break it, you're not going to be out the kind of money you're going to be out on something else, and it's small enough to just kind of throw in a bag, in your camera bag, that kind of thing. So clearly that is the audience for this, or somebody just starting out. The other option I could see is if you have limited room on your desk and you are doing live streaming for gaming or anything like that, and want to add a little bit more into your setup, give you a little bit more robust control over that. The fact that you've got that gain control and those other controls for your various inputs right there at your fingertips could be handy as well. And I don't know about you, but as a content creator, my desk is rather full of a lot of things. So the fact that you can have that in that really kind of complex or compact packaging works pretty good. So I would say check it out. The other thing one last kind of thought I had as I was doing with it is it's not dependent on an app, right? So it is a piece of hardware. There is a process to update the firmware if NearStream comes out with new stuff. But unlike some other equipment, you're not dependent on the app, which means you're not dependent on NearStream, frankly, continuing to exist. If the hardware works for you and it works for you as you got it delivered, there's no reason that it shouldn't just continue to work for you, and you don't have to worry about the service that is providing the app going away and then losing access to functionality, because everything is just controlled on the screen on it. So do check out those links below if you're interested into it. Look for another video coming soon where I'm actually going to look at their microphone as well. And until I see you again, have a great day.